all starts with proper vetting. And I think that if I would have done that proper vetting, I would not have ended up in a situation where the guys basically screwed me over for 9 months.
Alfonso, what's a tenant nightmare that you had?
I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and I've had a few. Had this, well, not so much nightmares, but I'll give you an idea. We because everything, I believe everything has a solution, and all human beings, they're just going through something, and if you treat people with respect and empathy, I think you could probably solve a lot of your problems. And it all comes from doing the proper vetting at the very beginning, so you don't have to deal with them later on. I have an employee that works for me in a different business, and this is actually about 3 years ago. We renovated an apartment, and I was traveling all across Canada, and one of my employees says, "Hey, Alfonso, I have this guy. He's really good. He pays like he's a good customer at our business. He comes and he spends a lot of money, so he obviously has the money. He's a really good guy, and so he's wondering if he can have this place." Never in my life have I not vetted a tenant. But because it's like, I'm getting like a referral, right? Someone's vouching for the person, and it's my employee. So for the very first time in 20 plus years, I say, you know what? Just, okay, no problem. Give him the place, right? So this guy moves in. Boom, I start getting calls from the building. Do you know that this guy is letting in prostitutes to the building and da-da-da-da-da? I'm like, what? So I talked to my employee, and he said, I didn't know about that. So he talked to the guy, and obviously they deny it, but it gets worse and worse and worse. About 2 months into it, we discover that he's actually running a brothel out of my unit. So prostitutes are living there, and tricks, the customers of the prostitutes, are coming to that unit, and this is now a full-on business. So sure enough, the average person would say, if I call the police, they can put a stop to this, right? It's illegal activity. You're running a whorehouse out of an apartment. That is obviously not legal. Well, police can't do anything unless they catch someone in the act. They can't do anything, pretty much. You're on your own. So 3 months goes into it. We're like, we have to solve this issue. Tenants are complaining. Prostitutes are coming in and out. They're just pretty much a distraction to the entire building. And so I get my property manager to go there and get him to sign an N11. An N11 is basically an agreement that the tenant has chosen to break the lease, and there's a date when they're going to move out. So let's say it was a month into the future. So now we make an agreement. We say, listen, we'll give you $1,000. Like, this can't work. There's police. Please sign this N11, and then we'll call it a day, right? And so it seems like the prostitutes are kind of using this. It was an older man. He was like maybe 62, or at least late 50s or 60 or early 60s. So it looks like the prostitutes were actually kind of like manipulating the guy. It looked that way, and they were kind of like upset that he signed this N11. But for some reason, it's like they knew what they were doing. So the date comes where they're supposed to move out, and then now they file a motion before I could file a motion to evict. And so they file a motion that says that they were pretty much forced to sign the N11. So it was done without their consent or without their willingness to sign that N11, and they felt threatened to sign that N11. And so now there's a new motion, and then now we have to go for trial. Now in the meantime, they stopped they stopped paying rent, and so we said it. We filed the N4, then we filed the L1 after 15 days, and then now we have another motion of eviction for non-payment of rent. And so we get to the we get to tribunal, and the judge looks at the case, and now we're like 3 months into it. 3 months of a nightmare of this guy with prostitution in my unit. Another 3 months waiting for a date, a trial date. Now we're in the tribunal, and then the guy says in court, he says, I can't read. So then now the judge has to start the whole process again to make sure. Now he can't read, but he showed up at the how did he show up at the case in the first place? But anyways, so now another 3 months. We're looking now at 9 months of this nightmare. We ended up 9 months later in tribunal, and we actually had to settle. I had to give him $2,000 to get out of my life. And I think that's kind of like, it's probably because it's the most recent, but what I learned from that lesson is that, you know what? For the 20 plus years I've been investing in real estate, I've always followed a process. The one time I deviated from that process and I took someone else's word and I didn't do the proper vetting, that was the time that I got bit. And so it all starts with proper vetting. And I think that if I would have done that proper vetting, I would not have ended up in a situation where the guys basically screwed me over for 9 months. So kids, do your vetting.